Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome to Friday the 24th of March 2023 out at Giga-Texas. And you see the blue skies behind me and you think it must be a great day to fly, but that certainly was not the case earlier today. In fact, I had to delay my flight several hours because of heavy rain showers in the area. And as you'll see through the flight, the conditions change from rain and mist all the way to sunny skies throughout the video. Now, it was so bad in the beginning that I only got about half of the video done, and then a heavy rain shower came through, so I had to stop filming for about 30 minutes, and then I resumed, and you can see throughout the video how the conditions change. But that doesn't stop the fact that there's a lot to see on the site today and in the video. We'll start on the south end. First, as you can see here, that dewatering system has now been disassembled. That cistern is now got a lid on it, and as you can see by this image here, between my first and second image, they installed that lid, so they're wrapping up construction there, which is pretty cool. We also see quite a bit of the remaining asphalt being removed in this area, both on the parking lots and some of the roadways. So that's a great sign. We see more debris removal in and around the ground by the south end of the building, as you can see by this image here near that temporary platform. We also see more of that underground stormwater corrugated pipe, as you see here, the original system being removed, which is the important part because this has to be gone so that they can start the actual construction and footing construction here on the south end. We also see here that the bypass system for that storm water pipe has now been installed, and in addition to that, they've added these concrete supports around various parts of the pipe all the way around the bypass, which really makes it a stronger installation. So pretty cool to see, and I'm really looking forward to finding out what they start constructing here and when that begins very soon. On the west side, just north of the main entrance, you can see here there's a crane in operation, and what they're doing is they're actually planting some of those landscape trees that we've seen stored in that area for some time. This also indicates that that pipe installation in this section is now completed as well. So it's another great sign of progress on the west side. Another item that I just want to talk about briefly is here up at the die shop. You can see that the wall panel installation is really moving along on both the north and the east sides. And on the east side, we can also see here they have installed the wall panels around a very large opening, which will be an access point for large equipment in and out of this facility. Now, there's a lot more to see. I cover a lot of ground today despite the interesting conditions, but I'm glad that I was able to get up here and fly and get ready for the weekend with a good Giga-Texas video. As always, thank you very much for your great support and for watching my videos. I hope that you and your family have a great weekend, and again, thank you very much for watching. Take care.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. So as I discussed in the intro, it's a very rainy morning. You can tell by the low clouds, but there's a little bit of a break in the rain right now. So I thought we would start here on the south end. I'd give you a good overall view of the activity that is going on right now, and then we'll come in closer for some detailed views. You'll note that the roadway to the south of the cyber pond is very active now. This is really the only access point for any of the vehicles or equipment or anything else that's brought into the south side. So let's look really quickly on the east side of the building, and then we'll return back to the south end for some closer views. As we approach at this side of the building, you'll note that white Model Y that just exited that large door to the right of those chutes. That is where the new cars are now exiting the factory once they complete general assembly. And as I turn back to the south, you'll see one more white one exiting just to the right of the screen. Because of the rains, I needed to turn the drone back and get a closer view of the south end before I had to land the drone. So we'll start here and take a look at the east side of the stamping machine structure. You can see more of those blue wrapped items. Quite a bit of them have been moved inside stamping 2 on the south end now. And here is a very interesting development that I want to show you. And you'll see with this arrow on the left-hand side. You can see the orange SPMT. All of the gantry crane parts have now been removed here, and I think that they've been moved inside stamping 2 to help with the assembly of these large blue items here. So one of the things I'll be watching is to see when these blue items move inside. Now the earthwork just at the bottom middle of the screen is where the last of the connections for that stormwater pipe bypass have been made. And you can see this excavation, they are removing the last parts of the steel corrugated pipe. You can see some of the remnants on the left-hand side. All of this was the original system that has to be removed to be able to support the construction. You can also see the crews here removing more of the parts that they've dug up underneath the ground. As we proceed just to the south of the cyber pond, I just wanted to show you how the material staging and also the active roadway looks today. You'll see many of these flatbed trucks, some on the left, some ahead of us. They all have rebar, and I think a lot of this is being used currently inside stamping 2 as they finish up the isolation foundations that are large subterranean concrete structures, but also I think that they may be preparing to prepare the last bits of the slab, which needs to be constructed in both the east and the west bays. As we proceed back towards the factory, you can see how the debris has been pulled up and is being piled in various sections to prepare for the construction. Also, you can see this truck delivering quite a bit of these components in the crates with the blue tops and some other wrapped in white or silver. All of this is production equipment. Some of that is from the company Mino, as we covered a couple of videos ago, and this is being moved into the third floor of the General Assembly in that area of the building where they're assembling the next production lines. Here are the 2 doors in stamping 2, and as I mentioned before, they are preparing the ground slab and also the isolation foundations in here to install the last of those large stamping machine parts that we saw on the east side of stamping. The temporary platform is still here, still very active. I don't see any signs of it moving yet, but you can see all of the work around here to remove the asphalt, a lot of the concrete. You can see quite a bit of the conduit that was here to support the superchargers has all been dug up, and they are really preparing the south end here of the building for the future construction. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of this debris that has now been dug up and piled here for eventual removal. And I think this is a really good view of how this looks here today and the temporary platform still in operation. As I pull back, I will give you a view of some more of the debris here, the steel corrugated pipes that have been removed and piled here, and just an overall view of how this south end appears now. It, to me, looks like they're maybe within a week or maybe just a little bit more before this will be completely ready for construction, and perhaps we'll start seeing some geopiers or other strengthening construction going on here ahead of the rest of the construction that we will see. This is some pipes and also some asphalt that's been removed and stockpiled here. You can see into this pit where they're working on more of that older pipe. And on this section, on the left-hand side, you can see the new bypass and also some concrete bands around to strengthen that installation. And then here in the middle of the screen, you can see the old corrugated pipes. There were 2 that were running more or less parallel, one smaller, one larger. That's all being removed, and they're continuing to extend that towards the east. This shows you a lot of the asphalt's been removed along with all of those superchargers on that side of the building. And then here, the cistern shows quite a bit of work. The red parts is the dewatering system. You can see that tank on the bottom left that has been removed. They've also added a cap now to that cistern. When I arrived earlier, they were just putting that cap on, and I did get some still images, but not quite on the video. But great to see that that is coming to an end. We also see here some more trench work and some installation and or work on some of the pipes that goes around this section and across part of the road. And also this is a good view of all the asphalt on this temporary parking lot that has been removed in this section and then up near where this cistern has been installed. You can also see all of the pipes and pumps have been removed from there as well. As we get closer here, we see where the windows have been removed. No changes in the last several videos once they've removed the windows, but what we do see is preparation work here to continue to extend the white staining on the exterior walls towards the north. See work now by that receiving doors on the ground level, and also crews are doing some pressure washing to prepare the concrete for that staining process. So while we're here, I'm going to take the opportunity to cross over the road and we'll take a look at the activity on this side of the highway. What you see here is the remaining part of the material staging location here. Almost all now are containers with just some steel and pipe materials stored on the east side. We also see how the warehouse on wheels expansion looks today. Those black trailers on the upper right are the recycling from the stamping machine section. And then all of these trailers appear to be empty, waiting for the drivers to pick them up and take them off to the suppliers. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see the concrete pile that's here for eventual recycling. Some of this is from the inside of the southwest corner of the building where they're working to install the new production lines. We can also see quite a bit of earthwork here on this section of the west side. And then you see that sort of a clearing right north of where those steel pipes are. In my last video, I actually saw there was some soil test rigs going on here, and that usually indicates we may see some construction. So let's get ready to cross back over the highway and resume the video over on this side. And we'll give a good close-in view of where they are doing the pressure washing on the wall segments. They usually do this to clean the walls in preparation for that white stain. We also see some pretty large yard trucks with a lot of equipment, some in green wrap, getting ready to be moved into this portion of the building. All of this is where those production lines are being built out right now. As we approach the west main entrance, we can continue to see work to prepare this for further construction. On either side of the cyber berms, we see more of the excavation in these large triangular shapes. And also it looks like crews are working here at the corner in some of these perhaps light mounts or some other excavations. They're also maybe getting ready to move those black parts that were there to hold all of the plants that you see here that are all potted, and they did that for Investor Day. We can also see here some of those rectangular concrete planters and some other kind of looks like cardboard or wooden crates next to those concrete items that we've seen before in those interesting shapes. So it looks like there's continued construction prep in this area, and also materials are starting to arrive. I did notice this. A crane is operational in this area now. They're moving some of the landscaped trees and planting them in this area. This also indicates that the pipe work that we saw going on here is now completed, and it'll be interesting to see how many of those trees they plant in this particular area. Now, if you can really tell by the skies, rainstorm is just hitting right about now. So about here is when I had to stop the flight, return the drone, and then I will wait about 30 minutes, and then here I am restarting the flight and trying to keep the apparent video as seamless as I possibly can. But you can see all of the rain on the building and some of the remnants and how that rainstorm appeared. But as we get here on these two platforms, we're on the north side of the 4680 production facility. We see more of the crates being moved inside the third floor. We also note that all of the crates that were by this taller platform on the ground have now been unpacked and all the materials moved in. These two trucks are bringing what I believe to be some of the granulized pellets that are used for the injection molding for the plastics manufacturing section of the building. And the north end here with these two platforms of the paint shop seems to be completely cleared out now, so looks like almost all the interior work is now completed. As we fly along the northeast corner of the casting machine structure, we see it looks like some trucks are delivering some items, which is pretty cool. Some of the recycling castings here next to where the truck was, and then all the castings that we see on the east side are what they're using for the body in white. So let's get the drone a little bit higher and let's proceed over the power lines, and we'll take a look at this part of the site and what the activity looks like today. Next to all these new receiving doors and where all the concrete's been poured, a lot more of the castings are being stored down here. We also see those yellow and black temporary platforms. In addition to that, we see several areas of earthwork around where there will be concrete poured just to the west of the turbo roundabout and the landscaping that you see. This testing and calibration lot is very full today. You can see the test track on the left with all of the yellow, and also the helicopter pad on the right-hand side. I still haven't seen any helicopters land here, but I do keep my eye out for that. As we proceed over towards the new car staging and transportation lot, you can see it's very busy. Lots of trucks continue to arrive and depart this section. And it looks like a pretty decent mix of vehicles waiting here for delivery to their final destination. We fly over those two new tents. We see some cyber planters with plants here underneath the drone. And I'll continue up over the very green trees now. It's definitely spring here, and show you the progress on this new clearing location. And it looks to me like the majority of the grade has now been prepared, and it also looks like it's kind of a square or a slight rectangular section that is a little bit higher than some of the surrounding area. But it definitely is getting a completed or a more prepared surface look. And there's even some gravel on the east side, looks like it's been delivered. So we may start seeing that spread around this site. Those tanks still are stored there, and I'm waiting to find out what those will be used for. And then I'll continue to fly the drone further to the east to give you an idea of how this section looks today. All of the trailers for the various contractors that are constructing Giga-Texas. This large hill that's used for some recycling of various materials. And this clearing is where they break down a lot of the wooden crates for recycling. These are the crates that bring parts in. You can also see some of the Model Y bodies. Those are also crushed and prepared for recycling in this section of the site as well. As we proceed back sort of towards the west, you get a good idea of how some of these workshops appear, some of the materials that are around this tree-lined area, and then the north of the warehouse on wheels lot that is being used for quite a bit of materials. You can see that it is definitely growing in number of materials and different kinds of materials now in this prepared section of the site. So while we're here, let's proceed over to the die shop and battery cathode complex and take a look at some of the activity going on here. We'll start off in the alleyway. On the ground you can see all of the concrete vaults and some of the conduit that is used and will provide the electrical power for these buildings. On the left-hand side, you can see quite a bit of the ground slab in the die shop has been completed. Also, we can see the number of wall panels has really extended far to the south on this east side. And also you can see that very large opening. That'll be for pretty outsized equipment to move in and out of the die shop. And also looks like the crane is preparing to lift up yet another one of the wall panels. The speed that they are going on this wall panel installation for this building is quite quick, and I wouldn't be surprised if another 2 weeks we'll see most of the building completed, at least the wall panels installed. I'll give you here a good bird's eye view looking straight down on this galvanized steel structure with all the pipes, manifolds, and other equipment that have been installed. I've heard some viewers say that this reminds them of an 80s screensaver, and I think it does have a little bit of that look. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. As I pan the drone up, you can see how the east side concrete wall panels appear, and also how the north side is really extending the wall panel installation as well. And you can also tell that the wall panels are extending almost about 6 feet or maybe 1.5 meters, 2 meters above the roof line. As I look back, this is a good view of that galvanized steel structure with some of the equipment underneath. And I'm going to pull the drone back and then return a little bit later to the die shop, but I wanted to just give you a good feel for the west side here, all of the materials, the operation, some of the temporary structures with equipment underneath it, and just generally what this side of the work site appears like. So I'm going to bring the drone back in a little bit lower and give you some different views of the die shop. We talked about the wall panels. We can also see in that large opening section that much of the center and east side slabs are completed. And here I'll zoom in and give you a good view of the deep foundation and the work that is going on. Quite a bit of rebar. You can see the size of the forms. The crew inside give you a good idea of the size. It also looks like they're installing some pipes on the inside of that formed area. So I'm going to turn the drone around, continue to look on this west side, and I'm going to give you another zoomed in look of that foundation, that very deep and heavily reinforced with deep concrete and rebar piers. And this gives you a really good view of how this is looking. Again, the scale with the workers. And it looks like there's still quite a bit of work ahead before we'll see concrete in this area. As I continue to fly a little bit towards the south, you can see more of the work that's going on to install some equipment, some deliveries, and work on that center bay. But also here you can see this reinforced section is getting the yellow moisture barrier, which means that we'll start seeing some rebar and then concrete poured in that section soon. As I turn around this side of the building, you can definitely tell that the sun has now come out, so it feels like another day, but it's certainly not. It's the same day that we started with. As I stop the drone here, take a look down at the bottom of the screen. You can see those concrete vaults and some of the conduit. This is what will extend all the way over to the west and will connect the power for all of these structures. As we move ourselves over to the east side of the structure, I'll take advantage of the sun now to give you some good views of the construction and the work going on here. Next to these two temporary platforms, we can see inside this open section. In addition, it looks like the center dump truck is bringing some more dirt next to that trapezoidal concrete section, so we may see some more construction there on the ground slab. As I continue to work towards the north, I'll give you a good view into these two open sections. This is where we've seen quite a bit of platforms and machinery being installed, some just to the left of that large opening, but continues to be a lot of work in that section to fit that out with equipment. As we take a look here at the cell test lab and how it looks, we can also see some interesting deliveries with some of these trailers out to the north. And also, it's about lunchtime, so you can see the crews with that mobile lunch van. So I'm going to bring the drone up a little bit higher to give you a good view of this north end, how this appears. Also that large rectangular clearing to the north. It still looks like they have a lot of material stored up there, but I haven't seen any construction activities yet, but I'm continuing to monitor that. As I turn the drone back towards the southwest, this is a good view of the materials that are be storing up at this section of the building and also how this complex looks today. So let's fly across this north end over to the electrical switchyard and take a look at some of the changes in activity over there today. As we arrive here at the north end, what we see is quite a bit of activity with stringing a lot of these high tension wires from the new power poles. We also see one of the older power poles has been taken down and they're starting to disassemble it. As we continue to look back towards the electrical switchyard, we can see right in the middle of the screen this brand new pole that was installed within the last 48 hours. In fact, my previous video, we saw them just getting ready to install it. And with the lighting, you can see quite a bit of the power lines that are extending over to these A-frame structures now. In fact, there's some crews that are working right now to connect some of them. So I'm going to give you a zoomed in view so you can get an idea of what that activity looks like as they continue to connect the power lines over to at least the first of these A-frame structures. And with this work, they're looking to be working on the west side bay. There's actually 3 bays. They're aligned north to south, and then they extend 1, 2, and 3 from the west to the east. You can also just see how the V-top circuit breaker installation has gone. Most of the steel assembly has taken place in the electrical switchyard section proper. And then right here next to the transformers, we see continued more steel installation. Now those kind of large box structures, they've now doubled the amount and they're working to the south. So again, this is looks like it's getting close to when this section and all of the steel assembly will be completed, which is another great milestone to see with the establishment of the electrical switchyard. And here's a good view just looking up to the northwest over the area, and you can see the temporary switchyard to the left. I'm going to bring the drone back to the south, flying over these trailers which are used by Tesla for new employee orientation, among other things, to show you some of the installation work here along the side of Tesla Road of these water pipes. These are the blue water pipes that will connect to the water main, and that extends all the way over to the battery cathode and die shop complex. I'm also going to show you this area as we climb up over the power poles. You can see quite a bit of the earthwork. A lot of gravel is now being applied on top of the graded earthwork. This is the area where the Megapack battery electric storage system will be installed. And the amount of gravel here that's being spread out is definitely growing, and it'll be really cool to see where they extend this next and then how they continue to prepare this service for that installation. Possibly later this summer we might see those Megapacks arriving. But otherwise, on a rainy then sunny day, this is a good view of Giga-Texas today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend and take care.